I'm Melissa, and this is the Book Break. Today I'm at the Salt Lake City FanX Comic Convention, and I'm going to go talk to someone who's not only an author, but a screenwriter and so much more, Edward Savio. Let's go! Savio, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I want to talk about your book, Alexander, because this is a little unique, not just in what you wrote, but you sat on the #1 bestseller list in both Audible and Amazon. Audible for we were like in #1 in fiction, #1 in sci-fi, #1 in humor. Believe it or not, #1 in time travel, even though there's no real time travel in the book. But the character himself is 1,500 years old, so when he tells us a story, he can tell us a story from, 200 years ago, and he looks basically the same. So Alexander X is the title of the book, of the first book, and then the second book, Ancient Among Us, just came out as well. Awesome. So tell me, how did you get into writing?
Ever since I was a kid. I grew up and I wanted to be a director. I wanted to be a director of movies. That's what I wanted. And there are two ways to become a director. You can become a cinematographer, or you can become a writer. There's another way. You can kind of be actors also get to be directors too sometimes, but you got to be huge. So I realized I didn't have a really expensive camera, and I didn't really know anything about that, but I knew I could write stories. I could tell stories.
Yeah.
So I just started writing, and my first, well, it wasn't a script. It was more like a play. It was called Snow Knight and the Seven Dorks. So
that's great.
Yeah, so I went from there and then kept writing and writing and writing. Moved out to Hollywood, did a little bit of rewriting work for people, and finally sold this one script called Swiss Family Rubinstein, and to Bette Midler and Disney, and had a nice string of 5 movies bought by the studios. Decided I wanted to have kids, moved to San Francisco. Kids nearly killed my career because I wanted to not fly back and forth.
Right.
And I kept a place in LA for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I just started writing started writing books. And at first I wrote books for me, and then I started writing some books for my kids. And then it just grew into doing this, and this is what I'm doing now. So I'm a screenwriter first and an author second, but now I write novels more than I write screenplays.
Yeah. And Alexander X is the first book in a series.
That's the first book in the Battle for Forever series.
Great.
Right here.
Great.
And there's going to be 4 books in the series, and the second one is also out called Ancient Among Us, and both the first 2 books have been narrated by the great Will Wheaton, and it's so much fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you hear Will do your words, you hear Will talking and saying your own words, and it's mind-blowing. Like, it's right here.
Someone once told me my name means the defender of mankind. Unfortunately, it may actually come to that.
You're wearing the headphones, and you're like, oh my God, Will Wheaton is in my head, and it was a great experience.
Okay,
and
so
then
when
now
you
everybody
write,
else.
do you hear Will in your head now?
I didn't at first, but during the second book, because he'd already done the first book, I heard there were a couple of places that I heard him, and what it did was I gave him something to work with. Like, I was like, oh, he really does this kind of snark, or this kind of comedy, or this kind of drama good. And I thought, if I can give him something, I want to do it for the audience,
sure,
but I could feel the pacing sometimes. There were some things that he did in the book, or in the narration, that, originally, like, I didn't hear that way because I heard the characters different.
Yeah.
But now I can't hear the characters differently. Yeah. Now I hear them through that way. So it's a lot of consistency. It's nice. It was really a great thing.
Well, and I think coming from a screenwriter into novels, that's pretty brilliant, because you know how to craft it not only on a page but visually and audibly, where you hear the actor. That's unique.
Right. I think that some people, when they first hear a narrator narrate their book, are probably shocked. I lived with people saying my words, in table reads or whatever we were doing, I could hear that. So it's nothing new. I want to write a book that's not a screenplay.
Yeah.
I want to write something bigger, but I also know how to put a story together because of the screenwriting I did. So I know where the through line is, and I try to keep it exciting as much as possible, even though I want it to be a more personal. It starts out as a very personal journey, and then it grows into this giant world-encompassing, epic arc over the 4 books.
Yeah, and you have 2 books out now. When are you looking for your 3rd book to come out?
So I'm writing the 3rd book right now, which is called League of Old, AULD, and that book, I will finish it early next year, and hopefully everything will get together, audiobook and everything, by late spring of next year. So June of next year is what our target is.
Yeah.
I may have to go run after this and just leave you and start writing, because I probably missed my 1,000 words for the day.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and you mentioned you have kids.
Yes.
Do they read your work?
They are the toughest critics, as a matter of fact. They do not cut me any slack. So for anybody who reads this book and thinks, oh, it might be, I've had the toughest people look at this, my kids, and they're just like, Dad, I'm really glad you're a very good writer, because if you weren't, we'd have a lot of trouble, like talking to you and sitting around. But then they say, do you want to be a great writer? Maybe you should change this part. So, they give me some good advice.
So when you're not writing your own stuff, what are some other things that you like to read?
I like to read things like, I like John Scalzi, I like Ernie Klein, I like Ready Player One. So that's like sci-fi. I read a lot of that stuff. But for me, I also love reading absolutely the opposite of sci-fi.
Yeah.
I'm reading The Last Equation of Isaac Severy, which is kind of a novel in clues, it calls. And I love Gone with the Wind. I love Portnoy's Complaint. I love classics. I love, what's another great book I just read? I read Catch-22 again, because it's like so hard to get through the first time.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. It's been great talking to you.
Great. And I just want to just say one thing. If people come to battleforforever.com, they can get the novella Bloodborne for free, which is in the same world as Battle for Forever.
Perfect.
And
and learn more about you.
And learn more about me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you for joining us on the Book Break. We'll see you next time.
Okay, first off, the fact that you're seeing this means that wherever you are, you're alive, you might even have electricity. I hate to tell you, I'm not sure how long that's gonna last. Someone once told me my name means the defender of mankind. Unfortunately, it may actually come to that. My name is Alexander Grant. Today is my birthday. And at precisely 3:16 this afternoon, I turn 1,500 years old. When people like me talk, bad things happen.